My name's Emily Baierl, and I became involved in the project probably in September of last year. My role in it at the beginning probably started very much as a researcher, sort of digging into some of the material, both journalistic and then also more kind of first-hand accounts of people involved in various student struggles. But then my role has kind of shifted over time to be pretty integrated into many aspects of the show. In approaching a subject matter like student struggle, it was really important for us not to sort of fetishize images of protest, which sometimes tend to be very spectacular. So we were equally interested in both administrative documents and then Ansel Adams' commission, Fiat Lux, which he was asked to do by the then UC president. And sort of similarly, there are no direct images of protest or struggle in any of the show. But by bringing together these things through the Ansel Adams, for example, one of the images we've chosen to present, which is called Faculty Glade, was taken a day after the free speech movement sort of ended. So there's this interesting convergence in terms of time and overlap, but yet those images are kind of occluded in a way. And I think our focus, both on Fiat Lux, which is this commission from the perspective of the university administration, as well as these administrative documents, the way I think about it sort of goes to a thinker or a theorist I've been reading a lot lately named Dean Spade, who's a trans activist who writes about administrative violence. What it does as a term in a way is sort of shifting responsibility a little bit from the more kind of direct encounter between policeman and student that happened the UC Board of Regents meeting in Riverside, as well as many other examples on UC campuses in recent years, that it kind of shifts some of the responsibility from that very spectacular, kind of tense moment, which certainly is violent, and I don't want to pretend that it's not, right, because that would be a mistake, but what that term does is it shifts some of the responsibility to university administration, where you have these more kind of neutral documents, vague documents, that enact a kind of violence in and of themselves. And I think Fiat Lux, like the codes of conduct, does something kind of similar by very intentionally choosing not to portray these images of protests that were going on at several of the UC campuses at the time. It's a similar kind of rewriting of history. And actually, to elaborate just a little bit, I think it's a similar sort of erasure that I think that is interesting in the context of Riverside, right? Because Riverside, compared to Berkeley, for example, or UCLA, doesn't have the legacy, well, or at least we don't understand it. And maybe some of this has to do with how history is written, but we don't understand it to have the same legacy of protest as some other campuses. But, and I think the sort of interplay of erasure and revealing and hiding, I think, is at play in this exhibition, and it kind of speaks to that kind of writing of history, which is, again, I think particularly interesting in the Riverside context.